marks 4 years since His Excellency David Granger was sworn in as president, and we have huge news for teachers. On this anniversary day, it was announced that 300 teachers will receive duty-free concessions. Paul McAdam reports on this major development and other news emanating from this week's post-cabinet media conference hosted by Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency, Joseph Harmon.
Cabinet approved duty-free concessions for senior administrators and staffers in the education sector when it met on May 7th and 14th. Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency, Joseph Harmon, said the concessions resulted from an agreement with the Guyana Teachers Union and covers the period 2016 to 2018.
The approval caters for the granting of duty-free concessions on motor vehicles up to 1800 cc engine capacity, outboard engines of up to 75 horsepower for persons in the riverine areas, and ATVs for persons in the hinterland. And this is to 300 eligible teachers and administrators across all of the administrative regions of Guyana.
Director General Harmon outlined that teachers must be GTU members for 3 years prior and have 3 years of service remaining.
All heads and principals and deputy heads and principals of grade A and B schools, all headmasters and headmistresses of grade C, D, and E schools, after 3 consecutive years of their appointment and within 3 years before retirement, and all senior masters and mistresses and heads of departments, as well as lecturers, too, of the Sir Potter College of Education and Technical Craft institutions after 6 consecutive years in the same position after their appointment.
An external special drawing rights $2.8 billion loan agreement was signed with the International Development Agency. This will finance the Petroleum Resources Governance and Management Project.
The objective of this project is to support the legal and institutional framework as well as key institutions to manage the oil and gas sector. Cabinet approved the agreement and directed that it be laid in the National Assembly as required by law.
Cabinet approved the appointment of the Board of Directors for the National Procurement and Tender Board Administration for 2 years starting from June 1.
And the board will comprise Mr. Berkeley Wickham as chairman, Mr. Mark Bender, vice chairman, Mr. Trevor Beard, Mr. Bernard Lord, Mr. Dwayne Griffith, Mr. Thomas Nestor, and Mrs. ANARA Grant-Williams as members.
Approval was also given by Cabinet for the Appellate Value-Added Tax Tribunal.
The tribunal comprises Mr. Ronald Birch-Smith as chairman, Mrs. Pamela Briggs, Mr. Nizam Ali, Mr. John Seram, and Mr. Trevor Boyne as members.
The Guyana Power and Light Incorporated's board was also approved effective May 1.
Mr. Roy Lucas as chairman, Mr. Reggie Bagwandas, Mr. Kirk Hollingsworth, Mrs. Marsha Johnson Francis, Mrs. Gillian Pollard, Mrs. Eleanor Trim, the Chief Executive Officer of the Guyana Energy Agency, Mr. Komal Ramnath, a representative from the parliamentary opposition, all of these as members.
The Occupational Safety and Health Joint Workplace Safety and Health Committees and Representatives' Regulations for 2019 were also approved by Cabinet. These, according to Harmon, will establish the highest degree of safety and health within the local workplaces. Annual reports for the Guyana Securities Council and the Guyana National Shipping Corporation were also put forward to Cabinet. These will be laid before Parliament as stipulated by law. Guyana will be represented at the Caribbean Development Bank's 49th Annual General Meeting in Trinidad by Finance Minister Winston Jordan. This takes place from June 3 to 7. The signing of the treaty establishing the Caribbean Customs and Law Enforcement Council was also given the go-ahead.
Guyana will signal to the CCLEC Secretariat its intention to sign the treaty establishing the CCO in Havana, Cuba in May 2019.
A draft bilateral agreement between Guyana and the United Arab Emirates on mutual administrative assistance in customs matters has been agreed to. An agreement for the avoidance of double taxation between the two countries was also signed. Guyana will also be represented at the Commonwealth's Public Management Forum in the United Kingdom from June 5 to 6.